Sort of tempted to make it a habit with these last videos to just constantly have a different drink with me. Because, you know, things are going loopy. Two chapters today, and that would be The Thief and the Goblin's Revenge. What I find particularly interesting about this set of chapters is that we are actually seeing the trio at their lowest from this point up to, really, I'd say, Shell Cottage. Because this is the moment where these kids are realizing that they are still actually kids, but they can't act like kids. They have to face this as adults, with knowledge that they don't have, the spells and techniques that they don't have, shelter and food that they don't have. This is sort of their realization of, we've had it good up to this point. Because through this entire series so far, they've been at Hogwarts, right? Like, they've had shelter, and they've had food, and they've had people that can assist them. They've had the library they could get information from. They've had people they could ask questions from. They've had their friends. They've had their mentors. All that's gone. It's just all stripped away, and we really are seeing this we really are seeing this methodical stripping away of everything that these guys have, because we really do need to hit the bottom before we can ascend. And so they've lost the shelter. They've only got this tent. They have to keep moving. They've lost the security of being able to stay in one spot. They've lost the food. They've lost the ability to communicate with people. They've lost their friends. They're losing each other, and we really are seeing that strain as it just starts to sort of crack. There are some concerns about the loss of ability to use certain spells when wearing the Horcrux. Harry can't cast his Patronus if he is wearing that, and we know there are Dementors out there. But we're also seeing this moment where we're having sort of that moment of fortitude with each of these three, and it's coming out in different ways. Because you look at this set of chapters and you wouldn't say that Ron is sort of showing that, but I think he is. I think we can make an argument for Ron here. Because Harry is very rightly so, remembering that he grew up at the Dursleys, so he has been periodically starved. He is used to living without a lot of food. Hermione is just... the term that comes to mind is stubborn, but she's got a fortitude about her, where she can look at these things and say, okay, this is what we have to do. Which, in truth, we've seen her building up through this entire series, because originally we weren't seeing that. Originally, we were seeing her, like, you're going to get us killed, or at worst expelled. Except as we follow her through again, Hermione's the one who ends up breaking sort of most of the rules in order to achieve what needs to be achieved. And she gets downright vicious doing it. So she can be as sort of harsh on herself as she can be on Jo's friend, the Ravenclaw that ended up betraying Dumbledore's army. She can expect that of herself, and she sort of holds herself together really well. But again, I think I can make an argument for Ron here, which is that in this really low period, we are seeing again, Harry's very correct in this, that Ron is not used to living like this. while the Weasley family is poor, they have always had food. Their clothing might be secondhand, their furniture might be secondhand, their house might be very cramped with all of them in it, but they've always been fed. So that is, we are seeing somebody who's not used to the circumstances, who's having trouble dealing with this, and this is a very normal thing. And it's very normal that it's Ron doing this, because again, I think it would be out of character if we weren't seeing this rage from Ron, because he's been one of the most hot-headed. But in that hot-headedness, we're again seeing that Ron can trace these things. He can track things. He's used to the magical world, because he is right in saying don't use Voldemort's name. This is before he actually goes and finds out there is a taboo jinx on it. But he's saying don't use the name. And him being so, like, very firm about this is what keeps him from getting caught up to this point. Because Hermione and Harry are very used to saying it. So him coming in and stopping them each time is actually a positive thing. I even again would also make the argument for that show Voldemort some respect. I think Harry takes the term respect poorly, because we want respect to be a positive thing. I don't think we have to respect Voldemort. I think we have to respect how much of a danger he is and how much we need to avoid that danger at the moment. And I think that's what sort of is trying to be communicated there, but Ron, not super great with words. Harry, not super great with words, and it's not making proper connections. But it is this recognition that we can't get caught right now. We need to respect that danger and say it's staying over there. We're over here and it's staying over there. I wouldn't be using you-know-who. I'd straight up be calling the man Tom. We've got to find these things or Tom's gonna kill us all. Hey Tom. Because we know for a fact that Tom Riddle hated his name because it was so common. Use that. Use Tom just as well as Voldemort is now using Voldemort, and just as well as he's using you-know-who. Use Tom. Take that in. Use it. So don't be surprised if I suddenly start doing that too. I'm so glad that they finally got these like cartons of milk in my residence store. And then we do start having these moments, again, where we can make an argument for all of these poor kids not being used to all this, and certainly not deserving of this. But I think the Goblin's Revenge really sets out something that I don't think they latch onto, but I think we should, which is, in fact, that they are not alone in all of this. Because there are other groups on the run. Some that involve goblins, apparently, because that's a thing. There are ways to find information. Listening into moments like this. The Quibbler is in support of Harry. Well, for now. We are really seeing this moment where even in the worst of times for all of these people, they are sort of, again, it's that fortitude at the center. And it's this sort of heaving up of themselves with this recognition that we need to work together. We need to find sources of information. We need to communicate with each other. We need to get that information to people who need that information. It's all of these moments of talk and work through each other. Because we have this moment with Dirk where he says that he made a break for it, but it seemed like somebody had confounded the guy who was escorting him. So it is this recognition that while it's an underground fight, the fight is still there. And people are fighting. And people are risking themselves and their families to fight. And to keep going. Like, Ted straight up says, register as a Muggle-born out of principle. Like, he's got a family, and he's going, no. So we are starting to see this sort of underground movement that up to this point in this text we haven't necessarily seen. Because we know that there's the Order of the Phoenix. We know that. And we know there's Dumbledore's army. And we know that. But we're not seeing this yet from the general population. And that's this. This coming in and coming up of these people. Coming up. Going underground of these people. In sort of the worst moments, they're just going, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna figure this out. Like, they're not letting themselves be crushed. And they are sort of taking these small moments of what they can. Like, the goblins are taking these little moments of revenge, and not sharing certain information with them. And these students are finding groups that they can trust, and newspapers that are telling information, and they're sharing that information. Like, we've got communication going. And again, it seems sort of like the Golden Trio's on the outside here, but they're actually starting to make connections. They've got a way of listening in. And then immediately after that, they're thought to use the portrait is really, it's a positive one. They're just like, wait, more information. I just picture how awkward that must be, just pulling out this entire picture frame from this really tiny bag and just having to go, yes, sorry, professional black. James always helps. Like, he's so snotty, but he gives the information that they need so they're able to, like, click. Oh my god. Things are making sense. I mean, again, can we not write off Harry as, like, super stupid? Because he's on the right track with Hogwarts. Because, again, we are seeing that Harry and Tom, and arguably Snape, all sort of fit into this category of lost boys. They are these boys that don't have a good home life and don't really belong anywhere else, who are finding a place to belong at Hogwarts. They're sort of making their little niche there, and it is becoming their first home. So yes, maybe we should listen to Harry on that one. But it's true. If people aren't willing to recognize that these people are coming from these same places, it might seem like simply Harry mixing himself in and being so focused on himself that he's not thinking all this through. And again, I think it's because Ron and Hermione haven't seen what Harry's seen. He's told them about all of the Tom Riddle memories and the adventure with Dumbledore to get the fake Horcrux and all of that. But he hasn't seen it. Well, they haven't seen it. He's seen it. Which means, again, simply that there is a connection that he can make that is going to be really hard for them to understand and for him to explain. Because they haven't lived his life. They are different people. So for them, it might seem like he's confusing the issue, but for him, he's actually got some very clarifying points and very clear understanding of what Tom went through. And he'll figure out also of what Snape went through. So it's all starting to come together, but they have to start at their lowest point. Though I think they're like super lowest point. I'd argue it's between the Goblin's Revenge, like Ron leaving, and Malfoy Manor. So we're gonna have to... I'm gonna keep reading, and I hope you do too. See you next time.